Okay, there we go. So we are recording the session, just so you're aware. I'm going to introduce each of the facilitators one by one, and then they're going to put up their hand and wave so you can see who they are. This afternoon's session is which international certification is right for me? So what is the learning path that is best for you, best suited for you, and from which you will gain the most value? So we are going to start off with Ken Titmuss, who is representing the Demand Driven Institute. There's Ken waving at you. Then we go on to Liezl Smith on the education from the Institute of Business Forecasting. Then we go on to Colin Cephel on the SAPICS certifications. Bill Schneider on local education programs and the international CSCA from ISCA. Bill, did you wave?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that was a quick wave, right. Greta Froys representing the Chartered Institute of Transport and Logistics, SILT for short. And then Lorato Tabedi providing her insights into the international certifications, the value they add to your personal growth and development, and how they can benefit your organization. So Lorato is going to be speaking to you from a user practitioner, up and coming supply chain professional, because she's still young and energized and ferocious, and she's taking supply chain management by the horns. So whoever was first on the list, if you can remember, you can get started. It was Ken.
Yeah, so I just need to share my screen, I guess.
Indeed you do.
So can you see the one slide on the screen there?
Yep, we can.
Okay, good. Well, this is very, very weird, actually, because normally we leave the best till last.
Oh.
But I see Tonya's put the best on first. Thank you, Tonya. So the title here is which certification is right for me? Well, that's not really what it's about. It's what certification is right for you, okay? So I'm going to be talking to you about two certifications from the Demand Driven Institute, the Demand Driven Planner Professional and the Demand Driven Leader Professional. So the Demand Driven Planner course, the DDP, is a program designed for planning people, purchasing, supply chain people, distribution people, those people that are responsible for implementing and maintaining a demand-driven MRP implementation. It's also the official 2-day preparatory course for the Demand-Driven Professional Planner Professional Certification, the DDPP, which I'll talk about later. You do get a certificate of attendance or completion at the end of the course, but that's not your DDPP. You need to go and write the certification exam. Consists of 13 modules, which go into a great deal of depth into the Ddmrp education. Basically, when you come out of there, you can go and apply this methodology to a few items in your database, in your company, and see how it works for you. So module 1 is about planning in the modern world and the problems that we've been having using tools that were developed in the 1960s in a totally different world that we live in today. We talk about the importance of flow as opposed to cost, all right? And we look at the solution that we have. The importance of flow is about trying to mitigate that bullwhip effect in your supply chain. And the way we find you can do that is by decoupling your supply chain, which unlocks the solution for becoming demand-driven. So we talk about what becoming demand-driven means. In fact, we talk about what demand-driven doesn't mean as well, as some people get the idea slightly incorrectly. There are 5 components of Ddmrp, and we start off by looking at the first one, which is strategic inventory positioning. Make sure you strategically decide where you're going to keep inventory in your supply chain to decouple it and mitigate that bullwhip effect. We also talk about it in the distribution network. So it's not only in a manufacturing company where you might keep it in your raw materials, finished goods, and maybe intermediate items, but how do we apply this principle out in the distribution network as well? The second component of Ddmrp is about now, once we've decided where to keep this inventory, how much are we going to keep there? How do we right size that inventory for the particular situation we are in at the moment, the environment that we're working in? And so we set up buffer profiles and levels, but that's not the end of it, because the environment in which we live and work is changing all the time. So those buffers need to adjust as we go in and out of seasons or whatever may be else happening, like COVID that's just come around. Once we've got those three portions in place, it means then we have a demand-driven operating model, okay, which is continuously being adjusted based on the environment in which you're working. We can then go into the demand-driven planning and the highly visible and collaborative execution aspects of Ddmrp. And to note that traditional MRP planning really is only planning. It doesn't have any execution capabilities attached to it, which Ddmrp does. And then we talk about Ddmrp in your operating environment, and then the demand-driven sales and operations planning process, which actually drives this operating model. And then there's a program summary. So once you've done the course, you can then go and write the Ddpp exam, all right? And basically it's earned by those individuals that can really apply the concepts that we've taught you, analyze an environment, and evaluate an environment based on the principles that we've taught you. So the Ddp certification is earned by individuals who can apply the demand-driven concepts, analyze the environment, and evaluate the environment. Over 7,000 people have taken this course globally to date. The exam itself is built on a more advanced stages of Bloom's taxonomy. So we don't want you to just repeat stuff parrot fashion. We want you to be able to apply and analyze and evaluate. So you have a 3-hour exam, and there's 50 multiple choice questions related to specific and given scenarios. So it's about the 5 components. We've got positioning and buffer profiles and dynamic adjustment, demand-driven planning, and demand-driven execution, and the analytics that come out of your model there. The exam itself is online. You can take it anytime you like to suit yourself. It's open book and non-proctored, so nobody's keeping an eye on you. It's an open book exam, so knowing it's an open book exam, you can know it's going to be more difficult than a closed book exam. So your notes and references you can use there. What I suggest to people is that you have 2 laptops. One, you're actually writing the exam on, and the other one, you've got set up some spreadsheets to help you answer the questions. There is a calculator, of course, in the testing mechanism. And if you do fail, then you get a rewrite as well, a free rewrite. Currently, the exam pass rate's about 69% first time, which is comparable with SAPICS exams, I would say. The leader course, now the demand-driven leader course, is a little bit different. It equips senior management and mid-level operation and supply chain managers with the ability to design, implement, and sustain a demand-driven operating model, including parameter settings through the demand-driven S&OP process. So this is at a slightly higher level. It is the people that are going to be managed at a higher level. They need to understand the concepts, because we're going for flow in operations. And quite honestly, most of them are measuring cost. And so we need to get them to understand that they need to change the way in which they manage their operating models. Again, it's the 2-day preparatory course for the demand-driven leader professional certification exam. At the end of the course, of course, you get a completion certificate to say that you attended. The course itself comprises of only 7 modules. Now, module 1 is today's organizational challenges, the problems that people are having managing their businesses today, and why these problems are there, and how we can overcome those by implementing flow into our business. So a new management model emerges, which we call the demand-driven adaptive enterprise. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But we go into the demand-driven operating model in a bit more depth. In the DDP, we only look at stock buffers or inventory buffers. In this module, we also go into time and capacity buffers that you might want to put onto your manufacturing floor. This would particularly be in a manufacturing environment. We also impress on the managers about flow-based metrics. They must be measuring their business in the right way. It's no good putting in a Ddmrp system, which is based on flow, and then you're measuring them on cost. It just doesn't work. And then we go into quite a bit more depth into the demand-driven sales and operations planning process, which is they would be driving. And then we look about this demand-driven adaptive enterprise model development path. So again, the exam demonstrates that an individual can apply and analyze an environment and the tactical components of a demand-driven S&OP. There's 1,600 people have attended this course so far. I anticipate that this course will probably be even greater than the DDP, because there are going to be a lot more managers out there that need to understand how to run these systems. But at the moment, it's lagging behind a little bit. The certification exam, as we said before, it's a slightly higher level of Bloom's, analyze, apply, analyze, and evaluate. Again, you've got 3-hour exam with 50 multiple choice questions based on the demand-driven MLP, scheduling, execution, demand-driven S&OP. The exam, it's online, it's open book, it's non-proctored. You can have your notes and references available next to you, but quite honestly, you don't have time to really go and look at those. Again, 2 computers, one with some spreadsheets on, and the other one where you're answering the questions. And again, if you don't get through the first time, you do get a free rewrite. Current pass rate first time is 70%. So what I suggest you do, if you want to learn more, is to go to the Demand Driven Institute website, demanddriveninstitute.com. And if you go to, if you haven't done so already, just sign up, and that will give you access into more areas of the website, more information. But if you need more information on the education and certification, you can see I've circled it there. You can find a lot more information than I've given you today. Purely by coincidence, tomorrow we are running a one-day workshop on the demand-driven adaptive enterprise. This is the bigger picture. This is the strategic, tactical, and operational area of demand-driven adaptive enterprise. It'll give you a bit of an indication as to what this bigger picture looks like. And then the following week on the 21st and 22nd, we've got a virtual 2-day demand-driven planner course, which you can register on. So, Tanya, any questions?
Listen, you spoke so much, there isn't time for questions.
Oh dear, you told me I had 25 minutes.
No, you heard wrong. Thanks, Ken, for that information.
Okay.
So if anybody wants some more information on Ddmrp on those courses, please drop us a note at SAPICS, or you can put some questions in the chat, and we can connect you with Ken or another one of the demand-driven facilitators that we have here in South Africa. So thank you for that that overview. If you don't know about Ddmrp yet, I would suggest that you find out more about it. So yeah, have a look into it. We now have Liezl Smith on the Institute of Business Forecasting, what they have to offer and why and what would be good for you in terms of what it is that they've got in terms of certifications.
Okay, hi everyone. I just quickly want to sort out my sharing. I can't seem to find the one that I want to share. So I'm just quickly going to try and get that right. Screen one. Sorry, maybe I have too many things open. That's probably the case. So let me just quickly fix that. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get it right now. I can't find my presentation. Sorry, guys. Really apologize for this. I'll be 1 second. Just closing down a whole lot of things.
Liezl, sometimes there's a bar on the right-hand side. It may be further down the screen. If you pull the bar down, you may.
Oh, there we go. No, sorry. It was just, there were just too many things open. Sorry about that. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yep, we can see.
Is it on presentation mode?
Oh, it's on speaker.
Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
speaker view.
Oh, goodness me. Okay. How do I do that? So
Use
like that?
use
Is that
Alt
better?
F.
There you go.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys.
Thanks for listening, Liezl.
Right. So I'll be talking about the Institute for Business Forecasting, and they've got a 2-day workshop, and which culminates in a certification. Ultimately, I just quickly want to run through that program to explain a little bit more about what's happening there. So the overall objectives of this program, firstly, to teach some technical skills, how to do certain things on Excel specifically, how to calculate some models. Secondly, some leadership skills, and there's quite a big emphasis on the leadership and the soft skills in this program as well. Then, as I said, it culminates into this professional certification, which is recognized across the world, in many countries, where you go and you can actually, you'll find this in job descriptions and in career guidance. And ultimately, it's about a career development, about growing, and about moving on to the next level. So some of the benefits in terms of the IBF certification, it's basically a validation of your professional expertise. A lot of people might already have the skills, but when they write the certification exam, they validate what they know. This also gives a career path or an advancement potential. As I said, it might be a requirement from a specific job description to have the certification. And a lot of demand planners are seeing that they need this. If they don't have it when they are employed, they are encouraged to get the certification, because it is sort of the recognized certification for a demand planner to be able to know all the technical aspects as well as the softer skills. And then basically we're trying to align with the future of business forecasting and planning. So just a brief overview of the different modules. They've recently revamped this program, and it's much more modern than it used to be. So module 1 is about the fundamentals, and we talk about just the background. Normally in the workshops, we go into a little bit of the challenges that people experience in their business lives and how they overcome them, and some of the examples. And every time I present this course, I learn from the people in the class as well, and I can really relate some examples from previous classes. There's lots of very practical things that come out of this course. Module 2 is about consensus forecasting and the role of cross-functional team members, and a lot of the SNOP and so on, those aspects get touched on over there. Then there's consensus forecasting in the communication. That's obviously where we need to now start sharing and selling our ideas to the rest of the business. And then we go into the formal sales and operations planning process, where we say this is how we drive business. Module 5 is about external collaboration and CPFR, collaborative planning, forecasting and replenishment. And then that's the end of day 1. And then we go into the technical stuff, which we start with data. Data is one of our biggest challenges with forecasting and planning. So we look at some data analysis in module 6. In module 7, it's a very popular module as well, where we look at performance metrics. You'd be surprised at how few people actually measure their performance in business. Then we look into the specific models, the specific forecasting models, where we look at averaging models, trending, seasonal and cyclical patterns, exponential smoothing, and then other models as well. So for the certification, we've got 3 exams of between 100 and 150 multiple choice questions per exam. Now, it sounds a lot, but it's nice because it's only 2 hours for each exam. So you can write them together on one day, or you can write them separately over different days, which makes it a little bit less intense to break them up a little bit. And the score needs to be quite high. It's 70% or higher that needs to be scored on each exam to get the certification. The good news is if you fail one of the exams, you can just rewrite that one exam. You don't need to rewrite all 3 of them. And this is just some references in terms of the textbook. This is the textbook that we use, the fundamentals of demand planning and forecasting. And we've got the different exams that relate to the different chapters. Just quickly, in the different chapters, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but module 1 talks about the fundamentals and the process and the softer side of forecasting. Exam 2 looks at the more technical side of things. It's the data and how the formulas are applied in the different models. You also get in this particular module, the exam, you get an Excel spreadsheet to work with, and you actually have to do some calculations in this. And in module 3, that's the easiest one of all of them, is the communication and forecast reporting and so on and so on. So that's the easiest of all 3 of them. And I'm not going to go into much more detail. I just want to show you that you can meet up with the IBF and be part of the community. You can go on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. They've got pages for all of them. And what's nice about they've got very nice events worldwide, and they regularly tweet about them and have Facebook discussions and LinkedIn discussions and articles published. They also have the Journal of Business Forecasting, which gets sent to all the members, which contains really good case studies and really good articles that you can also use in your own world. They are based in New York, and there's some details on their contact information. You can email them or you can go to their website. Everything on their website is very accessible, so easy to connect with them and to stay in touch with them. But if you have any questions regarding the IBF world and certification, please don't hesitate to ask Tonya or myself. We do represent the IBF in South Africa as SAPICS, and we organize some of the events in their the certification courses and exams that you can do. So please don't hesitate to ask if you need any information on these. And thank you very much. That's me.
Thank you, Liezl.
Any questions?
We have a very quiet audience today. So I think any questions, please put them in the chat, or you're welcome to drop us an email or a note afterwards if there's anything you would like more information about. And next up, we have Colin Cephel, who's going to talk to us about the SAPICS international certifications. And we are now a premier channel partner, or is it higher than that? I don't know. Bev can tell us. Where's Bev? Bev? Okay. We will confirm that. But Colin, please, you fire away.
Right. Is my screen visible? Not yet. How about now?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, very good. Let's go. Well, I've got a few more, quite a few certifications to go through, and I'm going to do it pretty fast because I only have 5 minutes to explain it. So we'll just start off with, oops, now the problem is it's not moving. Okay, SAPICS certification programs. And the first one I'm going to go through will be the Certified Supply Chain Professional. And then we'll go on to Certified in Logistics, Transportation and Distribution, Cltd. And then we'll go to the oldest of the certifications, Certified in Production and Inventory Management. And we'll finish off with Cscp for the Supply Chain Operations Research Framework. So what is CSCP? It is the global standard in supply chain education and certification. It was introduced in 2006, consists of 3 modules, and is of benefit to both employees and employers. Who do we see as getting value from CSCP? It is those people who have direct influence in the supply chain executives. It is department and divisional management who need to operate in the environment of the supply chain. It's functional management in the supply chain. It's employees in cross-functional departments. And to add to that, CSCP is pitched at a strategic level. It's intended for what Americans call the C-suite, people whose job starts with chief. And anybody who sees themselves in the future being in that position should be looking at CSCP in order to show that they have that knowledge. So benefits to organizations are multiple. I'm not going to read them, but it enables organizations to really leverage their supply chains and turn them into profitable business units. And it helps the employees, the professionals themselves, to demonstrate that they have the knowledge of supply chain management and to show that they are, in fact, professional people. It has been, the award, CSCP, has been given to more than 25,000 people in 100 different countries worldwide. It is by far the most highly desirable supply chain certification in the world for supply chain professionals. SAPICS has done salary surveys that show that on average, people who have CSCP are earning 25% more than people who don't have it. And SAPICS's research also shows that 65% of supply chain jobs are given to CSCP designees. Now we move on to the Cltd. The Cltd focuses on logistics, transportation, and distribution, and it's relatively new, launched in 2016. It consists of 9 modules. And now the oldest of the SAPICS programs is the Cpim, which really focuses on manufacturing. What we say is that it's pitched at the operational level in manufacturing organizations. More than 100,000 people have acquired Cpim since 1973. The program benefits both the professionals and the employers by making sure that best practices in production inventory management are adhered to. Those are some of the prospective candidates. It consists of 2 parts with an exam for each part. Part 1, the basics of supply chain management, and part 2 delves into those details. And then the last of the programs, the SAPICS Score P, is specifically aimed at people who are applying the supply chain reference, operational reference. And the certification shows that the individual has been properly schooled in those techniques. The SAPICS learning system consists of both print and ebook modules and an online system. There are web-based study tools, and there are review courses, face-to-face courses that can be held with instructors. Then we have something which is very unique to South Africa, something that I developed myself called self-study with tutoring, which we do for the 3 main certifications. Candidates can study at their own pace with the assistance of a tutor. And although the pass rate for the SAPICS certifications is in the 60s, 60%, 100% of my tutored students have passed at the first attempt since 2017 when it started. Then for Score P, it's a 3-day course with certified instructors. There are eligibility requirements for Cscp and Cltd, which I've shown there. Cpim and Score P do not have eligibility requirements, but introductory courses such as those shown on the screen, which Bill Schneider is going to talk about just now, would help. And for Score P, the ISCEA CSCA course would be of benefit. The certification exams consist of 3.5-hour timed multiple choice exams, which are sat at test centers run by Pearson VUE all over the world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the SAPICS certification programs. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Colin. That was short and sweet, straight to the point. So again, any questions, post in the chat. I see there is a question there. We'll have a look at that in a minute, because I just want to take us through the rest of the programs first. We now are going to have Bill Schneider talk to us about some of the local programs that SAPICS have. We have a couple of flagship programs that have been going for many, many years and are recognized around the country, certainly, and often, many cases, companies will specifically ask for the PPIM, which is one of our local programs. So Bill, if you'd like to share information with us about the local courses and the CSCA.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Schneider. I think most people know me now. Let me just get my share screen with you guys quickly. Are we sharing, guys? Tony, am I sharing?
Yep, yes. We can see.
Okay, magic. Okay, I'm going to talk this afternoon about 4 programs: the Certified Supply Chain Analyst, the basis of production, manufacturing and operations management, the basis of stores and stock control, and the principles of production and inventory management. If I can just get my... Okay, let's begin by talking about the CSCA, which is the Certified Supply Chain Analyst Program. This is an international qualification. It's very popular. It's good as an introductory course for those that want to enter into the supply chain field. Okay, there are 16 programs altogether, or 16 sections altogether. There's an overview. We talk about strategy, supply chain costing, fundamental issues, aggregate planning, role of inventory in the supply chain, material requirements planning, sourcing, purchasing, manufacturing, transportation, warehousing and distribution, sales and order fulfillment, lean and continuous improvement tools, sustainability, and team dynamics. And then added on top of that, we have an introduction to Ddmrp, which is Ken has spoken about already this afternoon. As you can see from the model there, it's divided into 4 sections: an introduction, the engine, the tools, and then the organizational side of it. Right? There are a number of learning objectives. I'm not going to go through all those for you, but you can, when you get the slides, you can have a look at them for yourself. Okay, what we try to do is we try to make sure that when people complete the course, they have a pretty good knowledge of what the supply chain is all about, particularly in terms of things like costs, transportation, manufacturing, and so on. Okay, the course assessment, there are self-assessment questions at the completion of each module. Ken has put them together using Kahoots. There's a final exam consisting of, not 1,000, that's supposed to be 100 multiple choice questions. The exam is proctored and has a duration of 180 minutes. Okay. The exam comes with a free rewrite if required. Our experience in this country has been that people that take the course, Ken and I have been offering it during the lockdown period online. It's available online. It will continue to be. It'll be about 100% pass rate, so we're quite proud of that. The South African short programs that we offer, there are 3 of them. There's the BMOM, the BSSC, and the PPIM. Let me just run through them quickly for you. Okay, first, the basics of manufacturing operations management. Okay, you can see from the diagram there that there are 9 sections to the course: business formation and strategy, management, supply chain and customer service, manufacturing and manufacturing strategies, planning, forecasting and scheduling, material and capacity planning, types of production and production materials, industrial engineering support, materials management, and lean and waste. And what we tried to do with this program was to put together a program for people entering into the supply chain or entering into manufacturing that have little idea about what manufacturing is all about, or in fact what business is all about. Because you can see from the first section, we speak about business formation and strategy. We also at that point talk about the different types of business organization available, sole proprietor, partnerships, the OCC or now the PTY Limited and limited companies, and also talk a little bit about the SOEs. The course consists of 9 3-hour sessions, each with homework questions and a final exam at the completion of session 9. The exam covers the full course content, and in order to receive a certificate of achievement, you need to score a total of 50%. Okay, in the final exam, with a combined minimum of 50% in the homework and the final exam. What we've tried to do with the local courses, we've tried to incorporate the homework because otherwise the guys don't do the homework. If we make the homework count towards the final mark, there's usually an incentive there for the guys to try a little bit harder with the homework. Okay, again, there's the number of learning objectives with the program. And then we have the basics of stores and stock control, the BSSC, which has been around for the best part now, I think, of something like 25 years. The BMOM is relatively new. We introduced that one to replace the BPIM, which was the basis of production inventory management, which lots of people felt was no more than a watered down version of the PPIM. Okay. The basic stores and stock control is a good program for people in the warehouse, both new entrants and people working in the warehouse for some time. We found that to be extremely successful because the experience has taught us that people in the warehouse are usually the forgotten few, where they don't get any training. They just sort of put there because they can't hack it in production. That's reality. The basis of stores and stock control consists of 13 different modules. Again, what we've tried to do with all our programs is to start from the bottom and work through. So we start off by talking about what warehousing and supply chain management is all about. We look at roles and responsibility. We look at risk and safety management, warehouse safety, inbound logistics, classifying and coding stock, okay, warehouse layout and productivity, materials handling and storage equipment, stock taking and stock audits, warehouse issues, warehouse returns, customer service and reverse logistics, transportation and distribution, and then end off with emergency situations and precautions. And once again, there's a final exam at the end. The exam, like the BMOM, is based on the total content of the course, 13 modules. Okay, it's covers the full course. Again, the pass mark is 50%, and it's a combined 50% minimum of the homework and the final exam. There is a opportunity if the guys don't do the homework and score very low on the homework, that they actually will fail the final assessment because they won't be able to make up the combined 50%. Again, there's a number of learning outcomes which cover in detail the content of the course. Okay? We've tried to make, although the programs themselves are not SACO accredited, which is a downfall, we admit. Okay, what we've tried to do is to align the courses, the BMOM, PPM, and the BSSC as closely to SACO requirements as we are able to. Okay. Then there's the flagship, which is the Principles of Production Inventory Management, the PPIM, which again has been around for quite a number of years. And this program is divided into two parts because of the length. There's part 1, which is the first 9 sessions, manufacturing strategies, product and process design, forecasting techniques, production planning, master scheduling, materials planning, capacity planning, project management, intermittent production systems, and continuous production systems. Then part 2, fundamentals of inventory, inventory methodologies and lot sizing, lean and waste elimination, purchasing and procurement, warehousing and materials handling, quality, facility location, and distribution management. You may notice that there isn't any Ddmrp in there, and there isn't any maintenance in there at the moment. There is a plan to integrate them into the program. The only problem with doing that is the program is already 20 weeks, and adding more into it would make it a little bit lengthy, but we are working on looking at how we can incorporate those other programs into the PPIM. Okay, there are 2 exams, part 1, session 1 to 9, part 2, session 11 to 18. Each exam consists of 32 false questions and 50 multiple choice. And just a point of interest, all the exams consist of both multiple choice questions and true/false questions. Okay, it's a closed. All the exams are closed book exams. They're hopefully not multiple guests, but guys do reasonably well with the exams. Okay, again, there are a number of learning outcomes. Okay. Just to finish off, what are the benefits to employers? Because when we try to offer programs, companies want to know, well, what's in it for me? So a motivated and self-directed workforce. We find that people that do our program suddenly realize that management is beginning to recognize them, and it actually does change their attitude towards the work. There's a reduction in absenteeism and labor turnover because guys now enjoy what they're doing. The company starts to produce world-class products. They meet or exceed customer expectations. Okay, they gain one or more competitive advantages, flexibility in resource management, a reduction in operating costs, an increase in investment capital because of the reduction in operating costs, stable production plans, a reduction in inventory levels, which is perhaps the most important for sustainability and survival, and an increase in plant capacity. And of course, what's in it for me, for the employees? I think a feeling of worth and the knowledge that they are contributing to company goals. There's a sense of accomplishment, an understanding of not only what they are doing, but perhaps more importantly, why they are doing it. Okay, high level of job satisfaction and job enlargement opportunities, a sense of being part of a winning company, personal development of skills and knowledge, and career entry and advancement. Study options, classroom interventions face-to-face, which can either be public courses or in-house, self-study with tutorials, online using Zoom, and company in-house programs. All our AEPs are qualified to present these courses, and I'm sure each one has the opportunity to provide one or a combination of the study options. Program timing can be adjusted to meet the requirements of the client, and each course contains a textbook, a workbook, and a glossary of terms, which I might just like to add were all written by myself, and Kelly and I wrote the workbook and the textbook for the CSCA programs. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. Many companies argue that if they train their employees, they will leave the company. What happens if you don't train their employees and they don't leave? Okay, thank you very much. And I will now leave that and hand back to Tani. Okay, how's that?
Thank you, Bill. And I'm so glad that you covered the points of what's in it for the employer, what's in it for the employee. You know, those are often really, really salient points, and they're not covered, they're not talked about. And this point about the end about training your employees, you know, it's always a case of the budget's been cut, it's cut in the training department, it's one of the first things to go. That's the place where you should not be cutting your budget, especially in times like this. You need skilled people, you need smart people, and cutting the budget and taking out training and development is definitely not going to serve you well. But I'm quite passionate about it, and I can go on with this for hours, so we'll park that. I'm going to hand over to Greta Freus now, that she's going to be talking about the offerings of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, which is SALT. Thank you, Greta.
Thank you, Tanya. I just want to get my screen. And just put it on slideshow. All right, Tanya, are you seeing that?
Good to go.
Okay. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I am going to also be talking about seated as accredited skills programs, which have very recently been endorsed by SAPX. The CLT international certifications and what we're doing with SAPX really do go hand in hand, because everything that we do is accredited locally through CETAs and therefore is on the national qualification framework. So I'm talking about two things at the same time. But I'm also very much focusing on one of our primary offerings, which is taking all of this learning material and making it available online. So we have, there are courses that are internationally endorsed by an organization called CLT, which stands for the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. And they have a presence in 35 countries around the world, quite a big presence in Africa, and certainly over in Asia and other parts of the world. So the international certifications that we're focusing on, I'm going to share a little bit more about them in a while. And then we have some skills programs which have been endorsed locally by SAPICS, which I'll enlighten you on what those are. So as an accredited training provider, we're accredited with CETA, TITA, Services, Agri, and the wholesale and retail, the last three in process. The lockdown process really slowed that down, but it is in process. So our training interventions, we really focus quite strongly on the digital e-learning, and I'll share what our approach to that is. But we do also do a blended approach where we can incorporate tutorials and webinars and that level of learning, and then of course face-to-face if that is a requirement. Everything we do is very strongly supported by a learner management system, so everything is technology driven, technology based, and all reporting and information is kept on a very extensive learner management system, which provides support to both employers and employees. So who are our audience? We have focused directly on the practitioners in the fields of supply chain and operations management. Like Bill, who highlighted that the people in the warehouse are those who are often forgotten. The same applies with all practitioners in all fields of the supply chain. So the learning interventions that we have chosen to offer, and through our partners like SAPICS and CLT, are all focused on the practitioner level. So warehousing, inventory, planning and scheduling, purchasing, procurement, manufacturing control, distribution, logistics. And one of the key elements that is enforced throughout the training programs is the responsibility of the role. So as a warehouse practitioner, what responsibilities do you have? And how do you ensure that your responsibilities are actually delivered? So that is enforced all the way through our training programs. We have a very different approach to training, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. And all of these courses follow that approach. The CILT endorsed courses, there's a certificate in transport and logistics, which has 2 mandatory modules, which is business theory and business practice, and then 3 elective streams, which are warehousing, inventory, and freight transport. At the diploma level, there are 4 electives, the diploma in transport and logistics. So to make a comparison with this to the NQF, South African NQF, the certificate is NQF level 4 and the diploma is NQF level 5. The elective streams in the diploma are transport operations, transport planning, inventory, sourcing and procurement, and warehousing. And there are many CPD courses, short courses, continuous professional development, which is also part of the SAPICS model. To keep your designation alive, you need to do certain things, and one of them is to earn points from CPD short courses. So all the short courses that are endorsed by CILT will also give a learner the opportunity to build up towards a certification. So we call them learning pathways. And there's an ability to mix and match and build up a learning pathway towards a certification, which makes it a really attractive offer for learners who are maybe sponsoring themselves through their training, and they want to do it at their own pace, and they have limited financial resources. So it gives that opportunity to build up towards certifications at your own pace. The SAPICS endorsed courses, there's a warehouse team leader, the manufacturing resources, operational planning and scheduling, inventory team leader, and the global supply chain materials management. These are at NQF level 3 and level 4, and they are registered skills programs with Mercita. They are also subsets of full learnership. So anyone who's familiar with the accreditation framework in South Africa, the SACWA accredited framework, this would be important. Again, all of these are aimed at the practitioner level. A little bit of detail on what we cover. We do everything in modules and lessons, and the inventory team leader has got 8 modules, and all of these have some aspect of leading and working with a team, because these courses are aimed at a team leader or a supervisor who needs to understand how to motivate and how to build their team, as well as how to do their job. So there's a blend of different bits of learning that bring into these programs. So for example, the operational planning and scheduling also has problem solving as part of it. And then motivating and building a team. The manufacturing resources also has the same 2 modules, problem solving and motivating and building a team. And then all the elements about manufacturing and resource management. The global supply chain materials management really is at a slightly higher level, and it takes all of these elements of the control of materials management and brings it all together into 10 modules, covering all the aspects of the supply chain. With regard to the accreditation, there's an important factor here in terms of if you have a business that has a presence in more than one country in Africa, particularly in the SADC regions, that anything that is accredited in South Africa is transferable as a qualification to other SADC regions through an MOU that's been created amongst the countries in the SADC region. So that really does add a lot of value to both the learner and to the employer. And there's many benefits to going the accreditation route. From an employer's perspective, they get access to rebates and grants through these CETAs and all the levies that they're paying. They get improvements to their BE scorecards. There's tax rebates. There's many incentives for employers to claim money back or to get other benefits by going the accreditation route. And for that reason, we've ensured that everything that we offer is accredited both in South Africa and in the SADC regions. So just talking a little bit about the online training aspect. COVID has really taught us that everything can happen online. And for us, it's almost a blessing because everything that we've been working on for the last 3 years to bring online training in the field of supply chain and materials and operations management, and now in transport and logistics, into an online space is really starting to have a big uptake now. So some of the obvious benefits, it's a very cost-effective option. The online training is much more cost-effective than facilitated classroom-based training. There's no restriction on classroom times. You can learn when it suits you. There's no impact on the work environment. You're not taking 8 people out of your warehouse or 10 people and putting them in a classroom for a couple of hours. And if any crisis happens in your warehouse, either you're disrupting the classroom or the crisis is happening and nobody's paying attention to it. So the online training allows you to not impact on the work environment, and also to give people opportunity to train to learn at their own pace. It's also a better way of learning because there's so much more to it. It's not just a textbook. It's a whole variety of things, and I'll talk to you in a minute about that. Entire program is accessible on a mobile app, and just by way of statistics, 80% of people in South Africa have a smartphone. So a lot of employers say, I don't know if my people will be able to work on an online training program. If they can use a smartphone, they can use an online training program. It's really that simple. It's more efficient. It's a more efficient way to assess formatively. You can reach a much larger audience, and there's no restriction on locations of students or how many students. You can have thousands of students on the same class. There's no restriction. So just how does it work? It's true e-learning. So everything is online and downloadable, and it requires limited data usage. So you're not, as a learner, as a student, you're not online for a duration of a training session or an intervention. You download your materials and then you can use it all on your device. Any device, a smartphone, tablet, laptop, desktop, computer. There's the device that you, the app that you download takes care of all of those things. The certification is broken down into lessons. So those modules that I showed you, within each one of those, there will be a number of lessons. And each lesson is a bite-sized chunk of information. So it will cover a particular topic. There will be a practitioner's guide, which is kind of like a textbook, only it doesn't look like a textbook. It looks more like a magazine than a textbook. And it's got links to YouTube videos that are explanational or additional information, referencing case study, and things like that, anything that's relevant to that particular topic. Every lesson also has an audiovisual animation, which summarizes the lesson. There's a quiz for every lesson, and the student must achieve it 100% pass on the quiz to move on to the next lesson. We do that on purpose because knowledge builds on knowledge, and we want to ensure that our students, being remote and being on their own, are really understanding the course content. But having said that, we have We have a support center in our offices and a team of people that look after student responses, and there's continuous support for students. There's access to an online glossary of terms, so while you're in your learning material, you can click on a link and it will take you into the glossary of terms and it will give you an explanation. Assignments and exams are all online. Everything happens online, and they're all marked by a facilitator. The final summative assessment is applied knowledge, so it's all practical. It's all, everybody who does these courses has to present a case of how they've actually learned. So what's in it for the learner? You get certified twice. You get a local certification and you also get your international certification or your endorsed SAPIC endorsed certification. I'll put this in a bit tongue-in-cheek, no boring lectures, but it's short, easy to understand lessons, fun, interesting animations, and we guarantee that you will pass because we're here to support you all the way through. We don't have students that fail. We do sometimes have students that drop out for various reasons, but nobody ever fails. You can work at your own pace, just have to meet a monthly deadline, so we keep a rollout, and access to facilitate through our learner management support. So where to find us? If you are interested in any of these courses, this is where you could go onto our website and get more information about the SAPICS endorsed courses and also the Chartered Institute of Logistics. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greta. It was a lot of information to absorb there. I think everybody that's here this afternoon is going to be a bit overwhelmed. So Lorato is last up, and please don't leave because she's going to kind of culminate this all together. And before you start talking, Lorato, I have one question that I think you could possibly address for us. Where is it now? Where is it now? You're the right person to answer this question. Is it better to do courses rather than a supply chain honors in today's climate?
I saw that question. I was like, that's a question for me. So I have got my BCom. I've got my BCom honors. I have Cpim. I've done basics of stores and stock control, and another one that used to be there called warehouse management in practice. So what I can say is that from what we learn in varsity on doing honors, like for example, UNISA has 3 major modules where they do advanced inventory management, advanced transport management, and then research. These certifications delve deep into what you are going to do when you are at work. So when you are going to be strategizing, when you are going to be putting things together, making a plan, these certifications do that for you in this climate. And what I'm seeing is that organizations are leaning towards people having these certifications rather than just having a BCom or a degree. I hope that answers the question.
Can I come in on that, please, Tanya?
Yes.
I believe that you need both. Universities teach you how to think. These certification courses teach you how to do.
Yes.
And so just as I'm an engineer. To become an engineer, I had to do a degree course, first of all, an honors degree course. But that only taught me how to think like an engineer. In order to actually practice as an engineer, I also had to get a professional certification, okay, PReng. Same in the accountancy profession. You can have a degree in commerce or economics, but that doesn't make you an accountant. You still have to go out and get your chartered accountant certification. And so it is exactly the same in the supply chain. And if you want to really get to the top of your profession, what you need to have is you need to have both. You need to go out as when you're still young and do a degree, and that the academics will teach you how to think and how to become self-sufficient. And then after a bit of practice, after a bit of experience, go and do a certification. And the certification will demonstrate that not only do you have the academic know-how, but you also have received the vocational training that enables you to practice as a supply chain professional.
The practical, the how-to.
Oh, Tony, can I just have a quick?
Quickly, because this is Lerato session now, hey?
All right, I'll shut up.
Lerato.
You're so mean. Tanya, you're so mean.
I know.
So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I don't know if you can see my screen. Did I share? Okay, I'm also having gremlins now. So let's try this again. Okay, mine is going to be quick to the point. I'm hoping you can see my screen now. Should have my lovely name on it.
Yep.
Okay. So I am certified in production and inventory management, and basically what Cpim did for me was to show me the what, the how, the nitty-gritties, the detail. Like I was saying earlier, with university, when I did my honors, I did an advanced a module called Advanced Inventory Management, but it didn't go into as detail as what I'm finding with CPIM. And now that I have an opportunity to instruct it, I can actually see the benefits of what needs to actually be done. So you get the theoretical knowledge, and then CPIM comes in with that practical knowledge. So just adding on to that. So for me, for the next person coming out to say, considering a certification, you need to think about the why. Why are you doing it? And I've taken this from Simon Sinek. Why are you doing it? Why does it come? Where does it come from? So does it come from the inside, or does it come from a popularity thing? Is people doing it because it's popular, or is it because you really feel a hold or a calling towards it, and that will lead to your how and your what? And for me, the things that you need to consider is where your passion is. So where does your passion lie? Because you will find that some people are not born supply chain specialists, but they're thrown into supply chain and they just do it because that's where they find themselves. But you need to find your passion within supply chain as well. And also what people need to realize is that supply chain is very broad. So it's not just materials planning or inventory management or warehousing. There's many factors within supply chain. So if you're going to be a supply chain specialist, where does your passion lie within supply chain as well? You also need to do research. So the first step was you coming here and listening to the panelists that have given us so much detail of all the international qualifications that are available, and even the local qualifications and certifications that we have. So you do research to find out which one is going to work for us. Then for me, I would talk to a professional. So somebody who's already in the industry, who's already working, and find out what is supply chain all about, and how can I start developing myself a growth plan or a developmental plan, or a leap on how am I going to achieve these steps for me to become a supply chain professional. And then look at institutions and look at qualifications. Make sure you find one that suits you. Find an institution that is willing to work at your pace. We've seen BizPro, they've come in with online studying and different options that they offer. So look at what type of institution would work for you, and look at whether you want to do it full-time or part-time. Do you want to be working, or do you want to be doing it full-time? But what I can say as a close, like told you that I wasn't going to be fast, is that find what calls you and find what speaks to you. So when you're choosing your qualification and you're choosing this industry that you want to go through, and you choose supply chain, number one is the best. it it is one thing that we do that makes the world go around. I say it all the time. But when you look into going into supply chain, you need to focus on what is it about supply chain that calls you, and what is it in supply chain that you want to do. So that is me, and I hope I was short and sweet, Tanya.
That was short and sweet and straight to the point. So I think
That's
that's a nice way to kind of bring it all together. It's about you. What is it that you need? What are you looking for? Do your research and get the right information. Bull, I'm going to let you come back in here because I know you wanted to contribute to something after Colin, but I needed to give Lorata her few minutes to speak there.
No, that's fine, Tanya. I just wanted to add what Colin said. You know, having spent almost 30 years in academia, I can attest to people leaving university and the so-called technical, or not the so-called, the technicons at that time, had an awful lot of theory, but it's a little bit like when you learn to drive. You only start to learn to drive when there's nobody sitting next to you. And I think that's where most people find themselves when they leave university in technicons and enter the job market. So I think we need to recognize that the guys come with a lot of knowledge, academic knowledge, but zero experience, okay? And they need a lot of training. And I think that's where SAPICS can add to academia. That's my say. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Bull. Just to wrap up, are there any other questions that anybody wants to ask? I know that you've had a lot of information to digest now, but we will make the recording available as we will make the presentation slide decks available. Any questions or information that you'd like on any of the presentations or courses, please just reach out to us and we will help you. Cauliflower posted a question to me. Greta's going to help you with the information you're looking for. So thank you to all our panelists for their contribution. We're very grateful that you sharing your knowledge and expertise on all these certifications. And we look forward to the people in the session signing up for some of them. So thank you all for your time. We did run a bit late, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so if anybody wants to catch up with Colin or Ken or Lorata, whatever the case is, give us a shout and we will get you connected. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Lorata. Bye, Ken. Bye, Colin. Bill.
Yes.
Thank you.